enjoy learning!
Hello everyone! Welcome to our Quarter 1, Week 7 lesson in Grade 8 Mathematics, which is all about systems of linear equation in two variables. So it's me again, Mamel. Sit back, relax, and enjoy learning! Our most essential learning competencies for this session. Number 1, illustrates a system of linear equation in two variables. Number 2, graphs a system of linear equation in two variables. And the last one is categorize when a given system of linear equations in two variables has graphs that are parallel, intersecting, and coinciding. Let us have the introduction part. So for you to have an overview of our lesson this afternoon, let us recall first what we did or what happened to our previous lesson. What are the process that we use in order to graph the linear equation? So in the previous lesson, you were able to graph the linear equation into variables. So we come up with the conditions which are the graph of a line that either rises to the right or falls to the right. Okay, so the graph rises to the right if the slope is positive. So meaning to say, from left rises to the right, that is positive. While if it falls to the right, then the slope is negative. So from left also, but falls to the right. So pababa naman. When the graph is a horizontal line, the slope is 0. While when the graph is vertical or vertical line, the slope is undefined. So you need to remember those conditions in graphing linear equation. So a pair of linear equation in two variables form a system of linear equations. So we are talking about a pair. So meaning to say, hindi na lang iisang linear equation yung ating igagraph. Kapag hindi na lang sa iisa, we need to call that a system of linear equations in two variables. So the graph of a system of two equations is a pair of lines in the plane. So that is a Cartesian coordinate plane. So you need to graph a pair of lines in the Cartesian plane. So that is what we call system of linear equations in two variables. Okay, so let us see if you still remember how to graph linear equation into variables. So this time, for your learning task number 1, you need to graph each pair of linear equations in one coordinate plane. So you need to do this on your notebook or your old notebook. Okay, so as you can see, meron tayo ditong pair of linear equation. So ano yung gagawin nyo dito? Just like the process that we did in graphing linear equations, ganun din yung gagawin nyo dito. So for number 1, y is equal to 2x plus 2 and 2y is equal to 4x plus 4. Number 2, y is equal to x minus 5 and y is equal to negative x plus 3. Number 3, y is equal to 2x minus 3 and y is equal to 2x plus 4. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is to rewrite the given equation into slope-intercept form. But as you can see on our given, it is already written in slope-intercept form maliban dito sa ating 2y is equal to 4x plus 4. So, anong gagawin natin dito kay 2y is equal to 4x plus 4? Okay, so we need to rewrite this into slope-intercept form. Okay, so you need to graph the given pair of linear equations in one coordinate plane. So ano yung gagawin dito? Kagaya lang din ng ginawa natin sa pag-graph ng isang linear equation. Okay, so on our next slide, bibigyan ko kayo ng example in order for you to recall how to graph the linear equation. So I will use the given number 1. Okay, so let us start with the first given. So ito yung aking ibibigay na example. Y is equal to 2x plus 2 and 2y is equal to 4x plus 4. So now let us start with the first linear equation. So let us write the given equation. So we need to represent x as 0 and y is equal to 0 in order for us to find out what is our ordered pairs, or what are the ordered pairs? Okay, so as you can see, it is already written in slope-intercept form. So therefore, we can easily find out what are the ordered pairs. Okay, so let x is equal to 0. So just like what we did on our previous lesson, we need to substitute the value of x, which is 0, to our given equation. So let us substitute. Ayan. So y is equal to 2 times 0 plus 2. So 2 times 0, that is 0. And then 0 plus 2, that is 2. Okay, so therefore, our y is equal to 2. Now, since meron na tayong value ng x which is 0 and y which is 2, we can rewrite that as an ordered pair. So our ordered pair now is 0 and 2. Ang x, 0. Ang y, 2. Now, let's find out the second ordered pair. So, same equation tayo. So, ngayon naman, we need to let y is equal to 0. So, just like what we did on this process, we need to substitute the value of y, which is 0, to this equation. So, let us substitute. Ayan. So, we already substituted 0. So, 0 is equal to 2x plus 2. So, let us transpose 2x to the other side of the equation para mas makuha natin yung value ng ating x. So, since this is positive 2x, when we transpose this to the other side, it becomes negative 2x. So, negative 2x is equal to 2. So, what do you think is our next process? Yes. So, that is right. We need to divide both sides by negative 2. Ayan. So, let us divide both sides by negative 2. So, we have negative 2 divided by negative 2. That is positive 1. So, we can already cancel this. And then, 2 divided by negative 2, the answer is negative 1 also. Okay, by the way, negative 2 divided by negative 2, sorry, that is positive 1. So that is positive 1x, then is equal to 2 divided by negative 2, that is negative 1. Okay, so we can write that as x is equal to negative 1. So as you can see, meron na ulit tayong value ng x and y. So let us rewrite it again as an ordered pair. So it becomes negative 1 and 0. So meron na tayo ngayong isang line sa Cartesian plane. So ang kailangan natin, dalawang lines. So therefore, we need to solve for the second linear equation. Okay, so let us start. Ayan, so we have 2y is equal to 4x plus 4. So as you can see, hindi siya nakarewrite into slope-intercept 4. So anong gagawin natin? Very good. We need to rewrite that into slope-intercept 4. Kailangan yung y natin, ang numerical coefficient niya ay only 1 or 1 lang. So dito sa ating case, we need to divide both sides by 2 para ma-eliminate natin yung 2. Ayan. So we have 2 divided by 2, that is 1, so we can cancel na. And then 4 divided by 2, so our remaining is 2x. Lagay ko dito sa taas para hindi makalimutan. Ayan. And then 4 divided by 2, the answer is 2. So I hope nasusundan ako, ha? Okay. So therefore, that is y is equal to 2x plus 2. So we arrive at the same answer. So now, since siya ay nakarewrite na into slope-intercept form, pwede na ulit natin gawin itong ganitong process. But take a look on our given linear equation, second linear equation after we rewrite that into slope-intercept form. What have you observed on the given linear equation? Excellent. So they are the same. So since they are the same, meaning to say, parehas lang yung makukuha natin na ordered pairs. Am I right? Very good. So sige nga, ulitin natin yung process. Let x is equal to 0. And then let us substitute 0 to this equation. So it becomes y is equal to 2 times 0 plus 2. And then 2 times 0 is 0 plus 2. Y is equal to 2. So, same ordered pair, makukuha natin 0 and 2. And then the next one, let y is equal to 0. So, let us substitute again 0 to this equation. So, it becomes 0 is equal to 2x plus 2. So, same process ulit. We need to transpose 2x to the other side of the equation. So, it becomes negative 2x is equal to 2. And then the next process, we need to divide again by negative 2, kagaya ng ginawa natin kanina. Ayan. So, divide nga natin siya by negative 2. Alright. So, since dinivide natin siya by negative 2, so our answer now is x is equal to negative 1. So our second ordered pair again is negative 1 and 0. Okay, now, so since nakuha na natin ang dalawang pair or two ordered pairs from each linear equation, we can graph now that on one Cartesian plane or coordinate plane. Okay, let us graph the obtained ordered pairs from our equation 1 and equation 2. So we have 0 and 2 and negative 2, 0. So for our equation number 2, 0 and 2 and negative 2, 0 also. So as you can see, meron na tayo dito ang Cartesian coordinate plane. So let us graph. Lagi tayong mag-i-start sa ating origin, which is 0, 0. So 0, ito ang ating origin. Now, so let us start with 0 and 2. From the origin, this is 0. Ayan. And then, since ang ating x ay 0, ito na yung una natin. So, x is equal to 0. So, 0. And then, for our y, which is 2. From 0, is it going up or going down? Okay, very good. So, we need to go upward. How many times? 2 times. Kasi ang ating given ay 2. So, from here, we need to move upward or go upward. So, from here, we have 1, 2. Okay. So, let us have the point. Ayan. So, that is 0 and 2. So, that will be our first point. Next, we have negative 2 and 0. So, negative 2 ang ating x. So, from the origin, ang x natin ay negative 2. Is it moving to the right or moving to the left? Or going to the right or going to the left? Okay, that is right. So, since ang ating x ay negative 2, tayo ay pupunta sa pakaliwa. So, from 0, the origin, we have negative 2. So, we have negative 1, negative 2. So, that will be our x. And then, ang ating y daw ay 0. So, aalis pa ba tayo dito? Tataas pa ba tayo o bababa pa tayo? Of course, hindi na. Kasi ang 0 natin ay katapat na. So, that will be negative 2 and 0. So, maglagay tayo ng point. Ayan. So, since dalawa na yung point natin sa ating dalawang pair ng ordered pairs, or sa ating dalawang ordered pairs, we need to connect the points. So, connect natin ang points. Yan. So, that will be our first line for our equation number 1. So, I hope nasusundan ang ating pag-graph. Next, equation number 2, we have 0, 2 also, and negative 2, 0. So, ibig sabihin, same lang ng point ang pupuntahan natin. So, kahit ganon, ipakita ko pa rin sa inyo kung paano ulit i-graph. From 0, the origin, ang x daw natin ay 0. So, dito ulit ang ating x, and then ang y natin ay positive 2. So, syempre, obviously, tataas tayo. So, from 0, 1, 2. So, maglagay ulit tayo ng point. Ayan. So, yan na yung padalawang point, yung nag-red. And then, for our second ordered pair, we have negative 2 and 0. So, from the origin, negative 2, kakaliwa tayo. We have negative 1, negative 2. And then, ano ang y natin? 0. So, again, retain tayo dito sa position na to. Hindi tayo aalis. So, lagyan natin ng point. Ayan. So, again, we have negative 2 and 0. Now, since meron na ulit tayong panibagong point na i-connect, i-connect muna natin siya. So, let us connect the points. Ayan. So, as you can see, nagkaroon tayo ng red na line. So that is denoted as equation number 2. So we are done in graphing the two a pair of linear equations. So we are done in graphing the two linear equation into variables. Now, let us identify or determine the characteristic of this graph. So as you can see, nandito din yung line natin ng first equation. Tapos, andito din yung line natin ng second equation. So, what do you call that, or what is the characteristic of that graph? Anyone from the class? Okay, that is right. So, ang graph natin ay coinciding kasi nag-overlap siya. Dito din yung first line, dito din yung second line. And that is what we call coinciding. So, dapat tatandaan nyo yung characteristic ng graph na yan, ha? Kasi mamaya gagamitin natin yan in order for us to identify or determine the characteristic of the graph of system of linear equations. Let us proceed to the development part. So in this part, we will discuss system of linear equation in two variables. So the graph of systems of linear equation may coincide. So coincide or coinciding, that is the characteristic of our first example. Yung ginrap natin kanina, wherein yung ating two lines ay nag-overlap. That is what we call coinciding or coincide. It may be parallel. When we say parallel, they do not intersect. And it can be perpendicular or intersecting. So, dito sa perpendicular or intersecting, they intersect at one point, at a point, rather. And for perpendicular, it create 90 degrees or it create a right angle. While in intersecting, hindi siya nakaka-create ng right angle pero nag-intersect siya at one point or at a point. So in order for us to graph systems of linear equation into variables, we should rewrite first the given equation into slope-intercept form. So we need to rewrite that into y is equal to mx plus b. So in this session, I will discuss to you the alternative way on how to graph systems of linear equation. So paano ba tayo mag-graph ng system of linear equation without representing let x is equal to 0 and without representing y as equal to 0. So, meron tayong another way on how to graph systems of linear equation by the use of our slope and y-intercept. Ayan. So, our slope is the m and our y-intercept is the b or the constant term. So, let us proceed. So before I give the different examples in graphing system of linear equation into variables, let us discuss first the different characteristics of the graph. So for parallel, our slopes are the same. So parehas yung slope ng dalawang linear equation, but different y-intercept. So you need to remember these conditions. So kapag parehas ang slope, magkaibang y-intercept, that is parallel. And then for intersecting, different ang slope, different din ang y-intercept. And then for perpendicular, the slopes are negative reciprocal of each other. So meaning to say, pag pinag-compare nyo, pag pinag-multiply nyo, yung dalawang slope, ang kanyang answer ay negative 1. So that is, the slopes are negative reciprocal of each other. While the y-intercept are different from one another. So that is perpendicular. Yan ang pagkakaiba ng intersecting and perpendicular. So coinciding, we have same slope and same y-intercept. Ayan. So, dito sa ating given conditions, kahit hindi pa natin na i-graph sa system of linear equation into variables, we can identify or we can determine what is the characteristic of or what is the characteristic of the graph or what is the characteristic of the system of linear equation. So, paano natin yung malalaman? Using this condition. So, dapat kukunin nyo muna ang slope at y-intercept in order for us to decide if it is parallel, intersecting, perpendicular, or coinciding. Let us have the first example. So graph the system of linear equations into variable. So our given are y is equal to 2x minus 3 and y is equal to 2x plus 1. So as you can see on our given system of linear equation, it is already written into slope-intercept form. So by that, we can easily find out the slope and the y-intercept. So using the slope and intercept in graphing, let us have the first one. Y is equal to 2x minus 3. So let us find out the slope and the y-intercept. So in this case, our slope is positive 2. That is the numerical coefficient of our x. So since ang ating slope ay whole number, we need to rewrite that into a fraction. Bakit po ilalagay into fraction? Kasi 'di ba, ang ating slope sa graph ay rise over run. So we need to rewrite that into a fraction in order for us to easily graph that on a Cartesian plane. So it becomes 2 over 1. Ma'am, bakit po naging 2 over 1? Diba kapag dinivide natin, 2 divided by 1, that is equivalent also to 2. So in that case, it is already written into rise over run. Ang rise natin ay 2 at ang run natin ay 1. So since we are done in slope, let us proceed to our y-intercept. So in that given linear equation, our y-intercept is negative 3. Ayan. So that is our y-intercept. Now, since meron na tayong slope and y-intercept ng first equation, let us find out the slope and y-intercept of our second equation. So our second equation, y is equal to 2x plus 1. So from this equation, what do you think is our slope? Anyone from the class? Okay, that is right. So our slope is also positive 2 kasi ang numerical coefficient ng ating x ay 2. Now, since 2 ulit yung ating slope, let us rewrite it again into a fraction. So it is equivalent to 2 over 1. So that is rise over run also. Our rise is 2 and our run is 1. Now, since we are done in getting the slope, now, let us find out the y-intercept. So, what will be our y-intercept? Okay, correct. Our y-intercept is positive 1. Now, we are done in obtaining the values of our slope and the y-intercept. Let us observe. Ano ba yung characteristic ng ating slopes at ng ating y-intercept? So, what have you observed on the given slopes or the obtained value of slopes and y-intercept? Okay, that is right. So, yung slope natin ay the same, but we have different y-intercept. So, going back to our table, kung saan nandun yung mga conditions and kind of graphs na maaari nating makreate, what do you think is the kind of graph that we can create when we will graph this given slope and y-intercept into a Cartesian plane? Ano kaya? Using the condition. Okay, so good job. So, since the characteristics are same slope, kasi parehas 2, and different y-intercept, ayan, so our graph now is parallel. Ayan. So, ibig sabihin, without graphing, we can easily find out or determine kung ano ba yung graph natin. Ano yung mangyayari sa graph natin by considering the characteristics. So from that same slope, different y-intercepts, our graph is parallel. So let us see kung parallel nga ba yung magiging graph natin kapag ginraph na natin itong ating obtained values of the slopes and y-intercept. Okay, so our equation number 1, di ba ang slope natin ay 2 and y-intercept is negative 3. For our equation 2, our slope is 2 and our y-intercept is positive 1. So kung itong ating slope ay i-rewrite natin into a fraction, it becomes 2 over 1. Okay, so saan tayo ngayon mag-i-start? So ang una natin gagawin ay i-graph ang ating y-intercept. Since y-intercept ang given dito, therefore, ang ating x ay 0 kasi ang given lang ay y-intercept. So, ang ating magiging ordered pair ngayon ay 0 and negative 3. Lagay ko dito ha para hindi kayo malito. 0 and negative 3. Ayan. And then, syempre, dito sa pangalawa nating y-intercept, Ang ating x ay the same, 0 ulit. And then ang ating y ay 1. Yan. So let us graph na. From the given y-intercept 0 and -3, from our origin 0, so 0 yung x natin. Automatic, ito na yung x natin, yung 0. And then our y-intercept is -3. So we need to decide kung tayo ba ay moving upward or moving downward. So since ang ating y ay negative, syempre tayo ay bababa. So from 0, we have 1, 2, 3. So that is -3. So 0 and -3. So lagyan natin ng point. Ayan. So meron na tayong point. Now, since from this y-intercept, meron naman tayong slope. Diba? Paano natin makikreate yung second point? So, using our slope. So, ibig sabihin, gagamitin natin ang slope which is rise over run. So, ano nga ulit ang slope natin kapag nire-write natin into a fraction? So, siya po ay 2 over 1. Yan. So, let us try. Ang ating rise ay 2. Since siya'y positive, rise tayo pataas. Kung siya'y negative, ay di tayo bababa. Okay? So, +2. So, rise tayo from here. So, tataas tayo. 1, 2. And then, ilan daw yung run natin? 1. So, tayo ba ira-run pa kanan o pa kaliwa? Very good. So, since ang ating run ay positive, tayo ay run to the right. So, from here, lalakad tayo ng isa, 1. So, ibig sabihin, itong 1 and -1 ang ating second point. Lagyan natin ng point. Ayan. So, that will be our second point. So, from that, pwede na tayong maglagay ng line. We need to connect the point. So, connect natin. Ayan. So, na-connect na natin siya. Next naman, let us have our y-intercept 0 and 1. So, again, from the origin, since ang ating x ay 0, dito ulit tayo. And then, ang ating y-intercept ay 1. So, from here, tayo ay tataas. So, we need to move upward. Ilang beses? Siyempre, isang beses. Okay, so from 0, again, and then our y-intercept is 1. So, isang beses tayong tataas. So, that will be our point. 0 and then 1. So, let us have the point. Ayan. So, meron na tayong point. And then, again, from our given y-intercept, pwede tayong makakreate ng second point using our slope. So, since parehas yung slope niya sa equation 1, so ano magiging ating slope ngayon? Okay, kagaya din ng equation 1, 2 over 1. So, ang rise natin again ay 2 at ang ating run ay 1. So, from here, tayo ay tataas ng 2 beses. So, from here, 1, 2. Okay, I hope nasusundan ako ha. And then, raran tayo ng isa. Siyempre, positive. So, tayo ay run to the right. So, 1. Ayan. So, ito ngayon yung second point natin, which is 1 and 3. So, lagyan natin ng point. Ayan. So, meron na tayong second point. Now, let us connect the points. Yan. So, that will be our second line. Now, what have you observed on our graph? Yes. So, they are parallel. So, tama pala yung atin kanina nagawa doon sa pagsusolve ng slope and y-intercept. So, without graphing, we can identify kung anong kind ng graph yung ating mabubuo. So, our characteristics are same slope and different y-intercepts, that is parallel. Okay, let us proceed to our example number 2. So, our given are y is equal to 3x plus 2 and y is equal to -1/3 x plus 4. So, again, let us graph using the slope and the intercept. So, let us begin with our first equation. So, we have y is equal to 3x plus 2. So, it is already written into slope-intercept form. Kapag ganyan, madali nating makukuha ang slope and y-intercept. So, what will be our slope? So, our slope now is 3. So, let us rewrite it again into rise over run. So, it becomes Okay, good. 3 over 1. So the next one is to find the y-intercept. So obviously, our y-intercept is positive 2. Okay, now it's your turn naman. So our second equation, y is equal to 1/3 x plus 4. So siya ay naka-write again into slope-intercept form. So let us find out the slope. Anong slope natin? Very good. Our slope is negative 1/3 from our given equation. So that is y is equal to negative 1/3 x plus 4. So ang ating slope ay negative 1/3. So ma'am, i-relate pa po ba natin sa into rise over run? No need na. Kasi it is already written into rise over run form. So ang ating rise ay negative 1 at ang ating run naman ay positive 3. Okay, so now, what will be our slope, our y-intercept rather? Okay, that is correct. So our y-intercept is positive 4. Now, look at our slopes. Tingnan yung slopes. Yan. Look at our y-intercept. What have you observed on our slopes? Slopes muna tayo. Yes, that is right. So as you can see, siya ay negative reciprocals. Kasi pag pinag-multiply natin ng 3 at saka negative 1/3, ang atin pong answer ay negative 1. So therefore, slopes are negative reciprocals. And obviously, our y-intercepts are different. So what will be our graph now? So our graph now is perpendicular. So meaning to say, kahit talaga hindi pa natin siya naigagraph, we can identify the kind of graph. Okay, so let us see on our graph for this example number 2, kung siya nga ba ay perpendicular. Okay, so let us graph the obtained values of slopes and y-intercept. So for our equation 1, our slope is 3. So we can rewrite that as 3 over 1. Ayan. So lagay ko na dito para hindi kayo malito. And then for our y-intercept, so syempre, that will be 0 and 2. Yan. Sorry for my handwritten. Yan. So for our slope is negative 1/3. Ayan. And then for our y-intercept naman 4. So it should be written into 0 and 4. Ayan. So let us graph muna para makita natin kung they are perpendicular. So from our origin, so 0 and 2. So syempre ito ulit ng 0 and then 2 positive. So tayo ay tataas, go upward. So 1, 2. So that will be our first point. So from our first point, we can obtain the second point through our slope. So our slope is 3 over 1. So ang rise natin ay 3 at ang ating run ay 1. From the first point, run tayo ng 3. So since siya ay positive, tataas tayo. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So hindi ko inaalis ang laser point. And then for the rise, for the run tayo ng 1. So, ang run natin ay pakanan kasi siya ay positive. So, from here, dito. Ayan, lagyan ko siya ng second point. Ayan. So, that will be our 2 points now. So, let us connect the points. So, that will be our equation of the line for the first equation. And then, let us proceed to our equation number 2. 0 and 4. Ayan. So, from 0, ang ating x, and then 4, positive, tataas ulit tayo. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, that will be our second equation. So, from here, kailangan nating makakreate ulit ng second point. So, by using through our slope. So, our slope is negative 1 and negative 1 over 3. So, our rise is negative 1. So, since siya ay negative, bababa tayo. Ilang beses? Isa. From here, 1. So, ito na yung negative 1. And then, our run is positive 3. So, we need to run 3 times to the right kasi siya ay positive. So, kita niyo yung laser point. From that laser point, run tayo ng 3. 1, 2, 3. So that will be our second point. So lagyan ko na ng point. Ayan. So that will be our second point, and we need to connect the points also. So that will be our second equation of the line. Now, so as you can see on our second equation of the line, or on our system of linear equations, nakabuo tayo ng perpendicular line. So tama, nag-jive doon sa ating pagsusolve kanina. So our characteristics again, slopes are negative reciprocals, different y-intercepts, and the graph is perpendicular. Kasi nakakreate sa ng right angle which measures 90 degrees. Ayan. Let us have the last example. We have example number 3. Our given are y is equal to negative x plus 3 and y is equal to 2x minus 3. So let us again, by the use of the slope and the y-intercept, we need to graph this. But before that, let us solve first for the slope and the y-intercept. So for our first equation, y is equal to negative x plus 3. So our slope now is negative 1. Ayan. And our slope written into rise over run, that is negative 1 over 1. Ang rise natin, negative 1. Ang run natin ay 1. Negative 1 divided by 1, that is negative 1. And for our y-intercept, that is equivalent to positive 3. Okay, next, it's your turn. We have y is equal to 2x minus 3. So what do you think is our slope? Correct. Our slope is positive 2. So when we write this into a rise over run form, it becomes 2 over 1. Our rise is 2 and our run is 1. And of course, let us find out our y-intercept. Very good. So our y-intercept is negative 3. So let us have negative 3 for our slope. So now, what have you observed on our given slopes and y-intercept? Okay, great. So we have different slopes and different y-intercepts. So in that case, our graph are intersecting. So, nag-intersect siya. So, let us see sa ating graph kung talaga bang intersecting yung ating magiging graph. Okay, so again, andito na yung ating slope, negative 1. So, yung negative 1, syempre, it can be written into negative 1 over 1. And then, for our y-intercept, syempre, siya ay 0 and then 3. Sulat ko na dito para mas malinaw. Okay. So, for our slope, sa pangalawang to, siya ay 2 over 1. And then, for our y-intercept, we have 0, but this time, negative 3 naman. Ayan. So, let us begin. So, we have our first y-intercept. So, 0 and 3 from the origin. 0, our y-coordinate is 3. So, tayo ay tataas. We need to move upward or go upward 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So, that will be our first point. 0 and 3. From this point, we need to create another point by using the obtained value of our slope through our slope. So, our slope now, our rise is negative 1. Kasi, di ba, negative 1 yun. Di ba, baba tayo ng isang beses. From here, baba tayo ng isa. And then, raran tayo pa kanan ng isa. So, dito tayo pupunta. So, that will be our second point. Now, let us connect the points. So, that will be our first equation of the line. Next, let's have 0 and negative 3 from the origin. Siyempre, kanina, tataas tayo kasi positive 3. Since ngayon, ang ating y-coordinate ay negative, we need to go downward. How many times? 3 times ulit. So, 0, negative 3. So, we have 1, 2, 3. So, that will be our first point for our second equation. And then, from here, gagawa tayo ulit ng second point through this slope. So, from here, right tayo ng dalawa. 1, 2. And then, rarun tayo ng isa, 1. So, that will be our second point. Now, let us connect the points. Yan. Now, what have you observed on the graph? So, that is intersecting. So, again, our characteristics are different slopes, different y-intercepts. The graph are intersecting. So, that is correct. So for the last condition, if each line in the system has the same slope and same y-intercept, the lines are coincident. So the lines are on top of each other. So just like on our first example, in order for you to accomplish learning task number 1. So doon, nag-graph tayo and our graph becomes coinciding. So grade 8, I hope that our video tutorial or this video tutorial will help you to understand our lesson this afternoon and also for you to easily accomplish your learning tasks. Okay, so for your learning task number 2 under development part, so you need to accomplish this also on your old notebook. So that will serve as an exercise. So without graphing, tell whether the graphs of the system of equations are parallel, perpendicular, intersecting, or coinciding. So meaning to say, ang gagawin nyo lang dito sa ating mga given ay kukunin ang slope at y-intercept and then from that, you need to find out the characteristics, you need to analyze, and then you need to tell whether if the graphs of the system of equations are parallel, perpendicular, intersecting, or coinciding. Okay, for your learning task number 3, you need to graph the system of equations. So, igagraph nyo to sa tigigisang Cartesian plane. So, yung number 1 sa isang Cartesian, number 2, another Cartesian, number 3, number 4, and number 5. So, ano yung process na gagawin nyo dito? Just like the process on our given example. So, kukunin yung slope, kukunin ang y-intercept, and then afterwards, you need to graph that. Okay? So, gagawin nyo yan sa graphing paper. Kung wala talagang graphing paper, pwede naman ang intermediate paper, pero dapat tama yung inyong Cartesian plane. And then for your learning task number 4, you need to describe the slope and the y-intercepts of the graph of the system of linear equation. So, i-describe nyo lang kung ano kaya ang slope at ano kaya ang graph ng system of this system of linear equation. So, please refer on the table about the condition. So, syempre, kapag ka ang inyong graph ay coinciding, ay di same ang slope at same ang y-intercept. So, yun yung mga ilalagay nyo. The description of the slope and the y-intercept. So, after accomplishing your learning task, kindly accomplish also the reflection part. So, this time, write your personal insights about the lesson by completing the following sentence prompts. Write your answer on an intermediate paper. So, we have, I understand that, I realized that, I wish to ask my teacher about. And then also, answer the provided personal assessment on learner's level of performance for week 7. So again, grade 8, thank you so much. See you next time.
Yes.